All right. Welcome back to Invested Life. We're going to do a little interview today. We learn about leadership and finance at Invested Life, and today we're going to focus a little more on leadership, interviewing Mr. Dan Maeder. Thanks for being here today, Dan.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. The theme is everyday people doing extraordinary things. So we'll give you a little bit of background on Dan. Dan has been a school administrator for 25 years and has also been for 37 years, been part of a soldier and a member in the Iowa Army National Guard. And Dan, I'd like if you could tell us a little bit about the positions you were in there and the leadership positions, and we'll kind of go from there with some questions.
Sure. Well, my career both as an educator and as a soldier and a leader in the Guard have paralleled each other over the last 30 some years now. As a school person, I started as a teacher in 1992, I believe, and taught for 7 years in a few different schools, and was encouraged to become a school administrator, be a principal. And so I did that for 11 years, and then was encouraged to become a superintendent. And so I spent the last 12 or 13 years as a superintendent here in Davis County, and a few of those was also as shared as superintendent with Moulton Udell as well. So learned a lot there. And at the same time, through that process, I enlisted in the Iowa Army National Guard in 1988. I needed money to go to school. My folks, great people, Mel and Judy Maeder, and very excellent parents, and very fortunate to have them. Basically said, son, you're gonna go to college and you're gonna pay for it. Mm-hmm. So I had to figure out how to do that, and saved up a bunch of money. And my first year of college, spent all that money on college and didn't have any. And but I knew that my goal was to graduate from college, and so in order to do that, that's when I raised my hand and said, I'm going to join the Guard, because they had tuition assistance and all that kind of stuff. So helped me pay my way through, and it turned out to be, looking back, it was one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life, because it's a huge part of what has made me who I am. So anyway, I served as an enlisted soldier. I was the lowest ranking dude in the Iowa Army National Guard, first PV1 when I joined. And now 37 years later, I'm a full bird colonel, and I'm one of the state's senior leaders in the Guard. And it's been quite an interesting journey. And during that time, I've been a private. I've been a sergeant. Then I went to school to use the education that I'd earned to have a greater impact. Got encouraged to go to officer candidate school, and I graduated in 1997 as a second lieutenant and became a platoon leader. Then later on became a company commander, as a captain. Deployed. I got to go back. In 1991, I deployed as an enlisted soldier, and then again in 2005 as a captain, as a logistics officer for the 224th Engineer Battalion. After I got back from that, I went into I later joined officer candidate school as an instructor, and then as a TAC officer, and became that company commander. Was in charge of training all the officers, or soon-to-be officers, in the state. And from there, later on, I became a battalion commander, and then a brigade level commander after that. And
it's one thing doing the job, but training others to do a job is kind of a different aspect of leadership, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the good Lord put me on this earth to be an educator, right, and to teach, and that's probably my passion more than anything is to share what I've learned and help others learn, and that's probably one of the greatest satisfactions I have is helping other people learn and grow.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you were kind of explaining your projection there in the military. Went into training and trainer. Did I cut you off there?
No, you're good.
Kind of,
I was just going to say that I've led at every level, almost every level in the Guard, and now I'm a mentor and an advisor for a lot of junior and senior officers in the Guard as well, and I'm still doing it. And yeah, so I'm currently the construction and facilities management officer for the state. I'm the part-time guy that does that. So
okay. Can you explain a little more context on the school side, like what the role of the superintendent is? Maybe someone that's not
Sure.
completely
You bet.
familiar with the whole school system. You did explain the kind of the trajectory there and some of the different roles in the Guard. I want to understand so the audience understands what the role of the superintendent is and kind of how that reflects back to leadership, and then maybe also what you're doing currently before we proceed.
Sure. So a school superintendent is simply put, is the chief executive officer, the CEO of the school district.
Okay.
So you're really in charge of budget, making sure that you've got the right amount of cash that you need to operate the school system, and you're the lead leader, I guess I would say it that way. So you're in charge of all of everything that happens or fails to happen in the organization. That's the superintendent's job. But you have different people that are all kinds of people, and they're doing wonderful things. You're in charge of the administrators, the other principals, the school principals, the people who are actually running that building.
Yep.
You work with the Board of Education, and you work for the Board of Education, really, and you're there to execute as superintendent their policies and that they've set forth, and for you to carry out. So that's the job, essentially.
Is the Board of Education or the Board of Directors the same thing, or?
Board of Education is a set of elected officials that are elected by the community.
Yep.
to steer the school, basically.
Sure.
So yeah, Board of Education, Board of Directors kind of goes hand in hand, yes. Yep.
And then how long, you were superintendent locally here in Davis County for 13 years.
13 years, yeah.
And 4 of those years was paired with Moulton School as well. So you actually ran 2 different school systems.
Yeah. I was a shared superintendent my last 4 years between Davis County and Moulton Udell. And the only way a person can do that is if you've got wonderful people that are around you and
Sure.
doing great things. And I was very fortunate to have just awesome people, awesome team members, and awesome leaders in both systems. Mm-hmm. So I'm very fortunate.
And then when, as a colonel that you are with the Army, Iowa Army National Guard there, who are you answering to there, or where does it go from a colonel?
So I'm part of the Adjutant General's staff. Okay, the Adjutant General is a 2-star general. He's the highest ranking guy. That guy works for the governor. Okay.
Okay.
And he has I think we have somewhere in the neighborhood of 7,000 Army National Guard soldiers, and then we have somewhere in the neighborhood of a couple thousand Air National Guard members. Okay. So the Adjutant General is in charge of the Army and Air National Guard for the state of Iowa. Okay, yep. And I serve on his Army's staff. Okay,
sure.
And anyway, so I answer to the Chief of Staff, and he's my direct supervisor, and then my supervisor is the Adjutant General. So
okay,
so I interact with the people who are leading the entire state's organization on a regular basis.
Yep. Yeah, and that kind of leads us to where we're at now. I've been able to get to know Dan over the last few years, 4 or 5 years here, as you've been a board member for Metal Capital Metal Wholesale Coil Spot here for several years, and earlier this year you joined as Chief of Staff here at Metal Capital. So it's been awesome to get to know you even more, and appreciate you, the leadership you demonstrate and what you've learned and your willingness to share it, continue to share it. That's what is awesome about you, and that's a gift you have. You mentioned educating, and you're still doing it, and thank you for doing that. And it's part of why we're doing this video, is to also try to share that beyond these walls. So appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm absolutely feel very fortunate and blessed to be here. I really do, and I, you've asked me why would you want to do this, right? Well, I get the opportunity to work with great people, and who have the vision. Your vision is what attracted me. You're in your brother's vision about. If you remember, I asked you, why do you want to have this business, and what is, is it if it's just about making money, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in that. But what are you going to do with that? What are you going to? And your answers, and I think this is great for the audience to hear, is that you want to make a difference in the lives of the employees that work here. You want to make a difference in the communities that you serve, and be great models of what Christ wants us to be. And so we can then have an impact on the kingdom of God, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's what attracted me. I get to be a part of something that is bigger than any of us, and I get to serve my Lord and Savior, and around awesome people who have that same mentality. So I couldn't be more blessed. So thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. What early experience shaped your leadership? You touched on that a little bit. You reached out to the Guard to help with college tuition. Like to understand that a little bit more, and maybe also who were some of your early mentors early on.
You bet. Well, I was very fortunate to grow up in a little town of Richland, Iowa, and went to school at Pekin, and we had amazing teachers who were very, very encouraging. They had high standards for us, and but encouraging us along the way. They helped me see things I didn't see in myself. So early on, my teachers were great mentors and coaches. And we talked about this the other day or the other evening. Is I think a question was asked, who was your greatest influence in your life? And it's my dad. My dad was a simple man. A hardworking guy. He worked extremely hard to provide for his family during a tough time in the 80s. If those of you who were around then remember the farm crisis, we were impacted by that, and I never saw my dad whine or complain about the hardships that we were going through. He always told us to trust in the Lord, and He will provide, and was always that standard bearer that caused all of us kids to stay focused on the most important thing, and that's our relationship with Jesus. And if you do that, we can do all things, right?
Yeah.
Through Christ who gives us strength, right? And while I didn't know that all the time going through the challenges, He was always there to remind me that to where my head needed to be, to where my focus needed to be. And He was right every time. So Dad was a wonderful influence. So, Dad was a great influence. There's no doubt about that. But there's also, I also had leaders. I've had great leaders mentor and coach and encourage. And people say, Dan, you've got something in you. You need to go, grow your knowledge and grow yourself.
Sure.
and make a greater influence. So I'm very thankful for those folks. But there's also, I will say that, if you're in a position of leadership, you're going to have influence. There's no doubt you are going to have influence. you're either going to be a good influence or you're going to be a bad influence. You're going to be one or the other. So I've had leaders along the way too that I've looked at them and went, I cannot believe that this person is a leader. And I think, and I would go home and whine and complain to my dad about that. He'd say, what are you doing about it? Are you growing? Are you you think you can do better? Well, then you need to work on developing yourself and go be better than that person, that negative influence maybe in your leadership development, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thankful for that challenge that I had from not just my dad, but many people along the way. Is that, and I think the thing that resonates with me about that is that leaders will influence one way or another, and we have to, as a leader, we've got to remember that all the time, and that whatever we do, people are watching, and they're looking to you to whether or not you leave a positive impact or negative impact, you're going to leave an impact.
Yeah. What you do makes a difference, and those who are faithful in little, God will let them be faithful in much too. He wants to give more authority to someone that's doing a good job with where they're at.
Yeah.
As we think about the theme, everyday people doing extraordinary things, maybe transition to, did you think that did you know you're always going to be in a leadership roles as a superintendent and as a military leader? And when did that really start?
Sure.
Understanding that.
Yeah. So the answer is no. The answer is, I saw myself, boy, if I could just be a teacher and a coach, man, I think I'll be set, right, for my life. And as a soldier, I thought, all I got to do is get my college paid for. If I get my college paid for, I'm done, right?
Sure.
And I'm done. And I'm going to go teach and coach and be an influence in the classroom and on the athletic field or what have you. But along the way, there's people that said, hey, Dan, you got something here that, again, you need to develop. You can have a greater influence. And I was encouraged by folks who saw something in me that I didn't see myself, right? And I also was encouraged to do things that make you uncomfortable. And if you do that, then you're going to learn and you're going to grow. And got encouraged to learn how to become comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah,
right?
That's where the growth is.
Yeah.
What, I guess when I think about the school leadership and principal and superintendent, that's a public service, and there's criteria and guidelines. It's not just I'm the CEO of this business and you're going to do what I say. There's a lot of things to navigate. What did school leadership, working with the school, teach you about leadership, and how do you do that when you're navigating? Not everybody's going to agree all the time, and you still got to move forward, get the job done, and keep going.
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I start with an assumption that everyone wants to do good.
Yeah.
I start with that assumption. And there might be people in there that aren't that way, right? But I'm going to start with the assumption that everyone wants to do good things and great things, right? And know that their great thing may not be directly aligned with what maybe we are trying to do, and so the goal is to get that energy and that effort aligned, moving in the same direction. And so how do you do that? And you first have got to establish trust. You got to invest in the people that you care about and that you love, and you got to show them. There's a saying that goes, people won't care how much you know till they know how much you care. Yeah. And so you have to spend the time with the people that you are are working with and wanting to influence to gain that trust. In a school system, especially, within the Army, you have authority. You have everyone in there is trained to understand that, hey, if this guy's a sergeant, he's in charge of those people, and you know the chain of command. You know that there is authority and power that comes with position. Where a school system, they're almost independent contractors, right? That you've got all of these amazing people that are highly skilled and want to do great things, and they have in their mind what those great things are, right? And they may not be perfectly aligned. So you got to gain trust. You got to earn that trust, and you got to spend time with them so they know that you're sincere. You got to have it. I don't follow people who are not sincere. I just don't. I can't expect anybody to do that for me. So you spend the time with folks and you gain that trust, and then you've got to where you kind of need to go, and then you've got to get to talk about it. You got to share the vision. You got to have a clear vision. You got to share that vision, and you've got to try to encourage people to get on board with that vision. And then you've got to gain the mass of people who are pulling on the rope in that same direction. Then if you need to, you can have those discussions with the people who are like, no, we're not going to do that, or I don't agree. Well, I really need you to, because this is the way we're going, and we would love to have you stay on board. But if you can't come on board with our discussion, then we're going to have to figure something else out, right?
Wow. I really appreciate laying out the differences of more working together with the school and more authority that the Guard operated with there. What I picked up there is, and I want to ask you, lessons on team and culture building, and you kind of just laid that out in a way. You earn trust by giving time, but you talked about creating and sharing the vision. That way you can talk and share and communicate where we're going. It reminds me of, in the Bible, I think it's maybe Proverbs, where there's no vision, the people perish. But you talk about having a vision and then connecting to the vision. That's inspiring.
Yeah, as I look back, the lessons that I learned always seem to come at the right time, right? The learning that I needed to learn, and I don't believe in chance. I believe that God's got His hands all over it, right? And if we would just shut up and listen to Him, we were a lot better off. And when I do, things go better, and when I don't, they don't. It's that simple, right? So so when I needed to, and I'm really thankful for the training and the development I got as a soldier leader, right? Because it was how do you create a vision and how do you clearly articulate that? That was developed there. So I did a better job as a superintendent because of the lessons I learned over here. And so I was able to do that. We talk about intent, which is having a clear understanding of the purpose. Why are we doing this, right? And then what are the key tasks that you've got to get done, right? Right? Well, those 2 or 3 or 4 things that must be done in order for you to achieve that vision, right? And then the end state. Here's what it looks like when we're going to get there. If you can clearly articulate that with whoever it is you're working with, then they're going to say, yeah, I can see that. I can get behind that. And I can see the pathway of getting there, right? And so we leaders have to do a good job of really developing that vision. Here's what we see, and here's where we're going. Here's why we're going to go there, and here's how we're going to get it done. And then here's what it's going to look like when we get there. If you can explain that well, people can go, I can get behind that, and off you go. And you also know, you also kind of sort out who really wants to do that, and the ones who are going to climb on board and get after it. And then you also can identify the ones that maybe have a different vision, and it's okay that at that time, if folks need to part ways and go a different direction,
I like that addition to vision. You have the vision, but there needs to be a purpose of why are we doing this? What are the key tasks to get it accomplished, and the end state? This is what it looks like when we're done. I think that's very, very good wisdom there. Thanks for sharing that. I like how you explained the difference, some of the difference in leadership there. Maybe there's more keys there between military and civilian leadership. It sounds like you've learned quite a few things from the Guard and utilized that in the school and daily life as well. What are some of the biggest lessons from the Guard that stand out to you and maybe that have helped you in leadership?
Yeah, so probably the most profound, and I struggled with this early on, right? So the most important thing I've learned is probably that leaders are made and not born. Leaders are made and not born. And so I think the good Lord blesses us with potential. Now, people have the potential to lead, but they have to build the skills, and you've got to develop those skills, and you've got to you've got to work at those things, and you got to go out and try, and you got to fail, to learn. So leaders, that's probably the most important thing that I've learned, is that leaders are made and not born. And along with that, probably the most important skill that a leader's got to have is they've got to be decisive. You've got to make decisions as a leader. Who wants to follow a person who can never make a decision? Yep. It would drive me nuts, right? So it's better, and we talked about this before, I believe, is that it's better to make a wrong decision than to make no decision at all.
Yeah.
Because if you make no decision at all you do is just vacillate and exist, right? You're not going to get anywhere. Even if you make the wrong decision, you're going to learn from that mistake, and you're going to apply that lesson learned to the next thing. You're not going to, well, I'm not going to go there again because I made that mistake already. So if that's how we learn and we grow. We make a decision, and then when we go back and reflect on that decision, was that a good idea or not? And what was good about it? What wasn't so good about it? And then we've learned and we've grown.
I like that. Leaders are made, not born. When I had some thoughts there when you were discussing that, I'm like, how does that work with how God sees us? And I believe that everyone has a calling and a purpose, and I think it ties in very well. We have a decision as a human. We have a body, a soul, and a spirit, and we need to decide that we want to lead and learn and grow, but you have to make the decision, again, back to making a decision, that I want to learn, I want to grow, I want to become something, and surround yourself with either leadership or get in a program where it teaches leadership. And I recently heard where, God wants us to make decisions too. He put the knowledge of good and evil right beside the forbidden fruit, right there. He knew that they were right there, but he wants us to decide. He wants us to step up and live a life that serves Him, and then our calling gets revealed at that time. But
absolutely, and I would just say, as we're facing that, I agree with you. God wants us to be decisive because God put us on this earth, right? He put me on this earth to live His will, right? For me to live His will, right? And He does that by giving me potential. But if I don't develop myself if I don't get in the Word and study the Word, and I need to do a better job of that, if I don't push myself to become the best that I'm capable of becoming in anything that I do, no matter, all of us, if we don't do that, in order to do that, we've got to be decisive. We've got to make decisions, right? And because we've got to find out what we're good at and what we're not good at, right? And when we do that, we're going to find His will for us. And when we immerse ourselves in the Word, all along that time, He will direct our path, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean we don't sit down on the path. We got to go, right? You got to go down that path, and you got to make a decision. And if you're immersing yourself in the Word and you're using the Word for guidance, the chances are you're going to make pretty good decisions. But if you're like me, not always staying focused on the Word like I should have as a young man growing up, and I'm still getting better at that, I'm going to veer off that road and I'm going to get thumped. And that's the good Lord's message, is saying, hey, stay focused on me and I'll direct your path. Just keep going, and but we've got to be decisive.
Yeah. Maybe another guard question. How about a moment that shaped your perspective, or a pivot point and it could be anywhere in life?
Yeah.
Any examples there that were just maybe a little story to go with it?
Yeah, there's several.
Okay.
But there's several, but there are, I can look back and see some key moments where I was at the crossroads, right? Yeah. So one in particular was when I was a company commander. I had we all have a strength mission, right? That's you gotta have people in your unit, right? And we were at like 120% strength when I took over this unit, right? And I knew when we were doing our forecasting that we were going to take a dip, right? For whatever reason. And so we're taking this dip now. The battalion commander calls me in. He's a retired general, and I love this man, Roy Webb. Wonderful guy. He's on YouTube and on Facebook, and you need to check him out. Okay. Roy Webb, amazing leader. Anyway, Colonel Webb pulls me into his office, and we were going down. Our personnel strength was going down, and he goes, Dan, your numbers are going down. Your strength is going down. What's going on? So I briefed him on it. I said, well, sir, here's what's happening, blah, 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 and explained all of what was going on. And he goes, I want you to know if you weren't able to brief that tonight, I was going to fire you. I was prepared to fire you tonight. I'm like, oh my, right? And then he said, you cannot lose another guy. You lose one more, you're done. You hear me? You're done. Roger that, sir. So off I go. Clear. So guess what? Guess what happens? Like the very next month, I have one guy, and the guy was not what we would consider a great soldier, right? The guy needed to re-enlist, right? And in order to re-enlist, you got to pass a PT test, physical training test. Well, the guy weaseled his way in and took a test and had another guy give him the test, and I knew it was bogus. It was not a good test, and he had to extend by that Saturday or Sunday, whatever it was. And that was the only time he could do that. So I was in the field. I come back in, and here's this PT card that says it's good. The guy passed, right? And I had a couple of my sergeants say, sir, you know that's fraudulent. You know that he didn't pass that test, sir. And I'm like, so I got a PT card that says the guy passed. It means I could extend him. I don't lose him, right? So I'm faced with a dilemma, an ethical dilemma, right? What am I going to do? This card, it's a good test.
Your job is on the line.
My job is on the line, right? The boss has said you lose one more guy. And wow. So this is why you got to surround yourself by great people. And Ken Lee Master, right? Another guy, wonderful guy, told me, he said, sir, you're not going to extend that guy, because if you did, you'd have to lie. And you're not going to lie because you're not a liar. And he said, your values are more important than any job or any person in this world. your values, and you know what they are, and you know what you need to do, and don't sacrifice them for anything or anybody. First off, the boss isn't going to fire you.
And this is one of the guys on your team.
He's on my team, right? Wonderful person, and I needed to hear that, right?
Yeah.
Because I was looking at this card, and I was worried about the not a threat, but hey, and this guy's my boss was a matter of fact guy, right?
Oh yeah.
And anyway, so I picked up the phone. I said, "Sir, you need to fire me." He goes, "Well, why is that, Dan?" He goes, "Well, I got a guy that I got to kick out. You said no more losses, and this is a loss." And he goes, "Well, yeah, why are you kicking him out?" "Well, he cheated on it." All right, good call. Yeah, no, I'm not going to fire you. You're good to go. So anyway, but I was in a moment where I needed to have good people around me, and that worked for me that were the standard bearers, right? Because there was a moment that when I might have been weak, had Ken Lee Master not been there and said, "Sir, you know what the right decision is. You need to do it." And I did. And I'm so thankful for Ken Lee Master because of that.
And that was obviously a very big decision because you remember it so well, but it was a defining moment that I'm going to do the right thing, and it was because of people that are in your circle as well.
As you're growing up, you hear people talk about, values and all that kind of stuff, which are really, really important, but until they get tested, after that decision, I never look back. Never look back. I will never, ever make a decision in my life, and never have since that would go against those values. Never.
Yeah.
Right? That just solidified it, right? And it was because I had great people around me who believed in the same kinds of things, right? They believed in those values. And if we don't have that moral compass that the good word gives us, we're lost.
Appreciate that story. I know there's
it's like I don't know, I hate to say the word liberating, but it was. And I can tell you there's multiple ethical dilemmas all along the road, and I just look at my values and I say, well, this is what we're going to do. That's it.
You get peace from doing the right thing.
Yes.
You're not looking over your shoulder for another 2 years. Hey, is he going to find out? Did something happen? Somebody can tell, and all that nonsense.
Yeah. And it's not based upon my truth. My truth is there's no such thing, right? It's about the truth. Those values are grounded in the Word, right? Yep. The truth. There's only one. And anyway.
Yeah. No. Thanks for sharing that. You said there was plenty of stories, but
we could be here all day.
I appreciate that one.
Yeah.
Thinking about, giving a word of advice, encouragement to others, which that story just did it. What does a strong mindset look like? How did a role of faith play out in your leadership? Anything else that comes to mind, or how to really make some good practical leadership advice for someone that's maybe stepping in to another level of leadership or authority.
I've got something that kind of rings through my head, I guess, is you hear I've read a lot of books. I've had a lot of mentoring and been mentored a lot. But one thing that just rings true all the time is about development, about what we all need to do is know yourself, right, and seek self-improvement, right. That and I don't know if that is an armyism. I don't know if it's. I know that a lot of different great leaders in history have said similar things to that. But know yourself and seek self-improvement. So, and I tell people this, I tell young leaders this, is leaders need to be confident. And you can only be confident if you know yourself. Oh. You know what you're good at and you know what you're not good at, right? And that's knowing yourself. but then seeking improvement in those areas. And you can be a confident leader and still not, and be a brand new leader, knowing that you know what you know and you don't know what you don't know, but you're willing to learn, right? And so, but you got to have that willingness to learn and willingness to grow.
Yeah.
When we stop having that willingness to learn
Hunger.
and willingness to grow, it's time to hang it up.
Yep.
It's that simple. If I think I got it all figured out, that's when someone needs to say, Dan, time to hang it up.
Thanks for that. I like you can have maybe the confidence, but not the ego. Like
Right.
when you know that you're not good in this area, you can seek improvement. How does denying self play out in that as well? Because maybe you found yourself in a situation where you had the ball in your court and you really wanted to do this, but you didn't.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you have anything on that comes to mind on that, but where you had to say, no, that's what Dan wants, but I'm going to do it this way because this is what's best for maybe the team or everybody else.
Yeah.
Usually they work hand in hand probably.
Yeah.
What's best for Dan's probably best for the team, but
Well, yeah,
you
it could
sometimes-
share the time. Yeah, but no, that's a great question. Yeah, I can think specific, and we didn't script any of this, by the way. But yeah, I can think of another example of that. Right, a great example of that. When we were fighting COVID, right, as a school, right, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And I still think it was the right thing. But no, but I had a plan, and I went to my administrative team, and I said, "Here's what we're going to do." And I'm saying, boom, this, and I felt during that time we needed strong leadership, right? During a time of uncertainty,
Yeah.
you need strength, right? In leadership, someone needs to grab the ball and carry it. So I came to our administrative team meeting, and I said, all right, here's how we're going to do this COVID thing. And I briefed it, and it fell over like a ton of, like a brick, right? It was not received well.
Oh man.
But I had a rule was, hey, I need you in this room, right? I need you to shoot holes in my plan. And it was silent, right? It was silent. And I'm going, all right, what do you think? And then, well, they came at me. We think that's a bad idea, Dan. I'm like, no, it's not. It's a great idea. It's my idea. So I went in with with my plan that I thought we needed to do, and was then convinced that people that I knew and trusted, that they were telling me that, no, I don't think you're right on this. We had that open dialogue, and we ended up meeting in the middle and creating a hybrid plan, and that better suited the community than my plan would have. And I had to humble myself because I was all that, and realize that I have great people here that that have, and that's the way you got to do it, right? You got to have, I believe strongly that you now granted, if we couldn't have gotten there, they would have accepted my decision because they're great people, right?
Yep.
But I learned that's a really important time that I remember having to sacrifice or be humble myself, and realize that I don't have the best plan.
Yeah.
But I trust these people.
Yeah. Great example. That kind of led on another thought. How do you accept that criticism? Maybe not criticism, but how do you process as a leader? How do you digest that when it's not everybody sees it the way you're doing? what's the key to articulate the best plan in the end? You know, the part between I'm the boss, I'm going to call the shot, and I kind of need to bring everybody with here too. Like, you've talked about you have a few ace cards too when you're in leadership.
Yeah.
And,
So, I'll go back to trust. So that same team, right? Wonderful team. And I learned this. Here's what I believe. I believe that as a leader, we should do our best to achieve consensus, right? And work hard towards that, and realize that, and we should shoot for 75%, we'll say, consensus in the group. So we're going to work hard to achieve consensus. But if I'm in the minority, right, and of a decision, and 75% is, when we walk out that door, we're going to demand 100% support. So when we walk out that door, it is our plan, and we leave all of the discussion there. We got there. We're moving forward. Now it is 100% support. We're moving forward. Even if it's maybe not the right decision, and we learn from that down the road, we're going to support each other. We're going to support that plan. That's what we did, and that's how we led, and as a team, and it was, but 75% consensus is a goal, but 100% support. And I'll also say this, is if you can't achieve consensus, this is where trust comes in. And this is where I felt my role as a leader is that if we cannot achieve consensus and a decision must be made, right? You've got to make a decision, but we're 50-50, we're going to say. That's when the leader says, all right, my decision, here's what we're going to do.
Yep.
And then 100% support. It's got to be that way. It's got to be that way.
I really appreciate that. I think if you bring that clarity on the front end to, all right, this is the time to shoot holes in the proposal, because when we're done here, we're on the same page 100%. I won't accept anything else. So if you want to talk, let's talk now.
That's right.
And I think anybody can appreciate that and respect that as long as it's clear and,
yes.
you lead that way.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I want to try to bring that into my life as well.
I think it's essential. I absolutely think it's essential. And if I'm a subordinate leader, and again I'm on the other side of it, if I'm the guy that's like shooting holes in it after the fact, then shame on me. Shame on me.
Sure.
And because we need, whatever decision is made, we've got to do whatever decision with fidelity. We've got to give it our absolute best, because we got to know whether or not that decision is going to work or not, right? And you don't know if it's going to work or not unless you give it your full faith effort. You've got to do that.
Yes.
And as a soldier, I learned that, right? There's lots of bad tasting sandwiches. I can't say it in any nicer way, but terrible things that you've got to eat. You just got to do it in order for the mission to succeed. It may not taste very good, but you got to do it, and you got to do it with a smile and move out. Right? You just got to move forward and go.
So I'd like to ask you about the weight of leadership. There's going to be leaders watching this, but there's also going to be people that are aspiring to be leaders, or that are going to kind of evolve into leadership, throughout their life. There's the part of the idea is, hey, cool, that'd be great. I want to lead, and I want to be the boss. I want to make a difference. And every once in a while, you'll hear that it's lonely at the top, or that comment. And maybe even articulating how it might, is it the same whether you're in this the school or whether you're in the Army, or is it very different? And if you have an example, great. But what is it like what is the weight of leadership like?
Yeah. So I fully believe and was trained this as well. I was trained this, and I fully believe it. Is that leaders responsible for everything that happens or fails to happen in his or her organization, from wherever you're at in that leadership in that chain. You're responsible for everything that happens or fails to happen. And yes, it can feel lonely when you are at that point where you can't achieve consensus and a decision must be made. There's a lot of weight there, right? However, that weight can feel better distributed when you are investing in the relationships of your leaders, your team leaders, and you know that you've done everything that you can do to achieve consensus. You're bringing everybody along. You've got great relationships. You know that decision is going to be, that weight is distributed a little bit amongst your team if you've built trust and camaraderie and esprit de corps and all of those things, because those people that you're leading, they appreciate that. They realize that, oh, thank goodness I'm not the guy that's got to make that decision.
Yeah. Right.
But we're here for you, and we're supporting you. We're lifting you up, so to speak, and holding you, as you make those tough decisions.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That it is a reality, but if you go into it with building up your team and helping with planning and preparation and development, and hey, we're in this together, it probably helps.
It helps. Yeah, it helps a lot. And the other thing is that while it feels lonely, right? There's other people out there and other systems that are there too. And you've got to reach out to those folks. Sure. You got to go find that mentor, right? You got to go find that group that is struggling with the same things that you're struggling with, and listen to them. And I've got a lot of good guidance. Phone a friend. Hey, I'm struggling with this.
Sure. There's nothing new under the sun. Everything took place and happened at one point. Just figure out who you can maybe connect with.
Yeah. But if you don't pick up the phone, if you don't reach out, it is pretty lonely. Yeah.
Sure. Maybe what do you enjoy most today? What you talked a little bit about what drew you to Meadow Capital in your role now. How does that? What do you enjoy? How is it different? And was there any surprises as you're transitioning in getting more involved in say the business world?
Yeah, so I think the same thing that the same things that really lit my fire, so to speak, still are the same. A lot of the same things. One, it's really when you're as a teacher, when you are trying to help a kid or kids learn something that's new to them, a foreign concept that's not easy, right? And then you see that light bulb go on, and they get it, and they start doing it, and the joy that they experience as a result of that. Sure. That's gold, right? So I still feel like that's what I'm doing a little bit here, and just sharing what I've learned and through the successes and failures that I've had along the way. I get to share that with others and see them take a nugget here and there and apply it and see it working for them. And I'm going, man, I helped that person learn. That still lights my fire.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
Yeah.
And that has translated across different careers, and it's your calling. It's what makes you lights the fire. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
What would you tell someone who feels average? I'm just here. I just average.
I would say, first off, God has a purpose for you in your life, right?
Amen.
And He wants you to live He wants you to strive to achieve the potential that He's given you. And don't be afraid, have the courage to step out into that area of uncomfortableness, right? Have courage, right? To go forth and do something you're not comfortable doing. Because when you do, you might learn that you're really, really good at something, but you also might learn that you're not. And that's okay too. It's just Him telling you, hey, go this way instead of that way, right? Mm-hmm. That's really what He's doing. That's what I believe, because He's giving you these strengths. And again, our job, our duty to Him is to go find those things that He wants us to do, and you gotta have the courage to step forward and do that, right? And then you have to have. We talked about this the other night. It's courage and perseverance, right? It's the stick-with-itness, It's that, you're going to step out here and doing something uncomfortable, and you're probably going to fail. You're probably going to fail. But are you going to keep going? Are you going to keep getting back up?
Knock on that door.
Are you going to, keep knocking on that door? Are you going to persevere through the hardship, right? Because if you do those two things, you're going to get on that purpose-driven life that God has for you. And you're going to be right where He wants you to be. But if you're just sitting there, I just don't think I don't think I'm living the purpose that He has for me if I just sit there and stay idle and get comfortable.
Mm-hmm. I've heard you say already, you had the percentages where if you just knock on the door and you're already 50% farther than anybody else just because you knocked. And maybe you could touch on that a little bit. You had a really intriguing story about knocking on the door when you were over deployed.
Sure.
And needed some equipment. Do you mind sharing that yet?
Absolutely. So again, it's about having great people around you, right? So when we were going in 2005, Ramadi was the worst place in the world, right? And we had the best equipment that Iowa could outfit us with, but it wasn't what we needed. We needed these level 3 up armored Humvees is what we needed. And I had written numerous what they call operational needs statements to request that equipment from Big Army, right? I'd written numerous of these things, and we weren't getting them. It was like crickets, right? Nothing. And we were getting ready. We were going to Ramadi, and we had the hillbilly armor is what we had, right? And I knew that we needed that equipment, and I knew in order to get that, I had to get this ONS operational needs statement approved. And so a good friend of mine who's my battle buddy in Iraq, Danny Simonson, he lives in Atumwa. He goes, come on, sir, let me help you. And I was a brand new logistics officer. Didn't know a thing about logistics, right? But Danny did, and he knew what needed to happen. And so I'm getting coached from my NCO, and Danny said, "Sir, you need to go over here to this guy's desk." So I go over to this guy's desk, and he was a major, I was a captain, and I say, "Hey, I need to submit an ONS," and he goes, "You see this pile? This is the pile of ONS. You should know how to do this. Go away," basically. And so I went away. Well, Danny Simonson grabs me because he's with me. I'm doing the talking because I'm the captain.
Yeah.
And he's the sergeant first class, and he pulls me aside. He says, "Sir, that ain't good enough. You need to go knock on that guy's door." And that was the generals, right, in this particular department. He goes, "You need to go knock on that guy's door." I'm like, "It's a general, Danny. And I'm a captain." He goes, "I'm telling you, you need to go knock on his door if we're going to get what we need." So I did. I went over there. He gave me, he breathed courage into me, right?
Yep.
I didn't have it. If Danny wouldn't have been there, I wouldn't have knocked on the door, right? Again, having great people around you. So he breathed this courage, and this is where I learned it, right? Courage. And he goes, you gotta gain some courage to go knock on that general's door. So here I am. I'm a school principal. 3 months later, 3 or 4 months later, I'm in Iraq, needing all this stuff.
Oh,
right?
wow.
I don't know how to do it. So I go knock on the general's door. No kidding. Hey, come on in, Captain, he says. How can I help you? Because that's what generals do. And I say, hey, sir, I'm Captain Dan Maeder. I'm a school principal from Iowa, and I know I need level 3 up armored Humvees for my battalion. And I don't know how to do it, sir. I'm not getting it done. And he goes, well, let me help you, son. So he puts his arm around me. He walks me right over to that same guy's desk. And he says, Major, this young captain needs some help getting this operational needs statement. Will you help him with that? And he goes, yes, sir. And so needless to say, we got what we needed. But it was because of the courage that and the perseverance. Danny would not let me take no for an answer.
Yeah.
Right? And he said, you need to grow some courage here, pal. Go knock on that guy's door. I can't do it. I'm a sergeant, but you can. You're a captain. And so that stuck, right?
Yeah.
So as you think about life, what do you really need? What do you really need? You need to be grounded in the Word, right? Most importantly. And in there, I know God talks about courage, right? I know He does,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And He tells you to keep at it, right? Keep at it.
Persevere.
Courage and perseverance. If you had to whittle it down to 2 things, that's it.
Perfect. Well, that's a great way to wrap up. Thank you for sharing with us here. As I think about the different things that you discussed and the overall theme where we're, taking everyday people doing extraordinary things. What I kept hearing was surround yourself with good people. Take courage and have perseverance. But when you had the right people around you, it also boosted your courage and your perseverance and your integrity. And I guess I would strongly agree with that in life. The people that are in your circle, that you work with, that you do life with, will absolutely make a difference in your life.
Yeah.
So.
Average guy surrounded by great people and listening and being humble enough to listen.
Yeah.
Well, good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you for your service to the community and the country. Thank you for your leadership as well. I've been deeply inspired getting to know you, and I appreciate you sharing your time with us this morning.
All right. Thank you, Wilson.
Well,
thanks, everybody.
Thanks for joining in again for another Invested Life. Make sure to catch next month, and also join the YouTube channel and ask a handful of your friends to join as well. So we do this in person, typically here at Bloomfield, Iowa as well, once a month. The schedule should be on the channel. So thank you very much.